Doug, you know college basketball. If I told you Baylor and Gonzaga or the Field, now that you have seen the bracket revealed, who you got?
I've said Gonzaga or the Field all year, so I would say yes. I mean, I like Illinois. I put Illinois in there, but, I mean, Gonzaga is the best team, and they got a little bit of everything. They're a little slim in terms of their bench, but, yeah, I'd say giddy up. I think the best team's the best team for a reason. I think there's a discernible difference between most everybody else.
Okay, so if the Zags go out and if they go 32-0, right now they are 26-0 entering into this tournament. How incredible in your mind of a performance is an undefeated record in a COVID year? Where would this rank all time among NCAA tournament accomplishments?
I mean, it would be right there with the 76 Indiana team, the last team to do it. You know, and I understand people say, well, you know, the Big Ten Conference is the best conference. It was. And the WCC is not the Big Ten. It does have two NCAA tournament teams. The other team is the BYU is 6 seed. But they also played a very good non-conference. Could have played, obviously, Baylor. That game got canceled. Played a very good non-conference. They were undefeated through that. So, I mean, I think what happens is we always do this, especially in college basketball. We're like, well, this Gonzaga team is not better than the team of 5 years ago. And, like, guess what? You don't have to play anybody 5 years ago. You just have to play this year. And I think if you contextualize it with how dominant they have been, and I think it would go down as an all-time great. Like, we didn't do it when UNLV, and I mean, obviously I was a kid, so I wasn't doing sports radio, but when UNLV was going for a back-to-back national championship, nobody said, hey, your league sucks. When Memphis had John Calipari and they went to the championship game, people didn't say, hey, their league sucks. It didn't. I don't know why we do it with Gonzaga. So Gonzaga's a real deal. They got a bunch of pros, they're well coached. You know, when they were challenged, you know, a couple nights ago against BYU, they were awesome. They can really score from basically all five positions. They pass it. They got 2 point guards. One's going to be a top 5 pick. They're legit.
We're talking to Doug Gottlieb. You can hear him later today breaking down many of the NCAA tournament matchups. Okay, you like the Zags versus the Field. Let's go into some teams that you think could be peaking at the right time. Everybody's going to be filling out their bracket. Nothing better than having an upset that you can brag to your buddies about. Who are the teams that to you are surging at the right time and could make Final Four-ish runs that may not be at the top in your mind of the favorites, but they're peaking at the right time?
Okay, well, I mean, obviously, Illinois is a 1 seed, but they're playing great basketball. I just called yesterday the Big Ten championship game on radio, and they're really impressive. You know, they have two very good, very different big guys. Ayo Dosunmu's the MVP of the tournament. He's a stud. He's the best closer in college basketball. They have multiple ball handlers. They're legit, by the way. So if you put Illinois in there to sneak up and win the national championship, it's not a huge upset, but still, they're a late closer. I think everybody's in a mile mater Oklahoma State. It's not just that they have Cade Cunningham. They also got Isaac Likely back, who's started for 3 years now for them. He's like a point power forward. And, you know, when you have Cade Cunningham, who's like the number 1 overall pick, and he's a great closer, you give yourself a chance of a run. And they've been playing as good. They won 8 out of 9 down the stretch, playing as good as anybody in the country. Like, I think that one makes a lot of sense to me. I like Oregon. I know they lost to Oregon State in the Pac-12 tournament. They just could make a shot, but you look at their record over the last month and a half, I think they lost like 2 games. Oregon, you know, they were some of their losses, they didn't have their 3 best players because of COVID. And so because it's the Pac-12 and people are down the Pac-12, because nobody knows who's playing and not playing, like if you said, hey, I think Oregon can make a run, there's a lot of people in basketball that go like, yep, I agree with you. USC, similarly, you know, they have a 6'8" point guard who's transferred from Rice. They got an older team, all transfers. And then they have Evan Mobley, who's a top 5, top 7 pick or whatever. And he's 6'11", 7 feet tall, shot blocker, can shoot threes, do a little bit of everything. So those are some of the kind of the big boys and what they can do. I like St. Bonaventure a good amount. Trying to think who else there is, but those are a couple that hop off the page to me.
How nervous are you about the COVID issue, right? We saw it. It didn't matter as much, although you hate to see a conference tournament impacted by it like we saw in the ACC and the Big 12. How nervous are you that some of these top teams could have a COVID-related issue and we finally get the NCAA tournament, but if a top team had a COVID issue, it just throws the entire tournament into an uproar. What do you think they would do? And I hate to even toss it out as a hypothesis, but let's say a 1 seed has a COVID issue. Do they have to forfeit? Like, how is this going to work?
No, they have to. They have a replacement team. Whoever the first, so Louisville could be that replacement team.
Right, but I mean, I'm saying, like, how crazy and unfortunate would it be? And I hate to even put this out into the cosmos because it would be awful, but the Zags are, and Mark Few, thinking about trying to go 32-0. If suddenly they have a COVID positive player and they get bounced out of the NCAA tournament, I think everybody would sit around and say, this doesn't feel like a fair way to finish the season, right? We didn't see this happen in the NFL, in college football, in the NBA, in the NHL. Whether or not you agree with the way that they chose to finish those seasons, right? There were challenges during the regular season, but in the postseason, we didn't feel like the champion was really cheating us. That could happen here, right? I mean, that's what to me is kind of if you've got a really good team, that's the part where you're sitting around like, oh my God, this is awful.
No, yeah. I mean, like, these protocols, these kids, they're already in Indy, and they basically can't leave their rooms except to go to a team function, like practice. And then when they practice, they're all in, like, the convention center, but they have their own, like, court that's, like, cordoned off, whatever. It's a weird deal. How would it feel? It would feel awful. Yeah, I mean, it would be terrible. I don't think there's any question on how bad it would look with all the preparations they've done. I don't understand why they didn't just push back the conference tournaments if you had to, and honestly take have everybody get the vaccine. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, it's like 2,000 people, all the travel parties combined. Have them all take the vaccine, give them time for it to get into their system, and, like, let's go. Instead, you're just, like, chasing these protocols, and it's really weird. But I think if that happened, especially considering everybody, what happened was Mark Emmert would be, like, burned at the stake, like he had anything to do with it. But people would say, see, the NCAA can't even get this right. Look, if you can lose Duke, Virginia, Virginia's the defending national champions, right? Because we didn't have a tournament last year.
That's right.
Right now, they're supposed to fly in on Thursday night or Friday morning, right? And I was looking at my Bet Rivers deal and trying to figure out, like, what is the line on that thing, right? Because they can't even practice until Thursday. Can't practice until Thursday. They're going to fly in and just wing it and play. I mean, if it can happen to Duke, Virginia, and Kansas, it can sure as hell happen to Gonzaga. So I would also say that the one thing that probably doesn't go reported is a lot of these kids have already had it, you know? And so there was a thought from a good amount of teams, when you have it, you get like 150 antibodies are good for 150 days per the NCAA rules. And there were some coaches that were out there timing it like, oh, we're good. They got it then. Honestly, like, Louisville was crushed by it this year. That's why they didn't get in the NCAA tournament. But you can't have a good gauge for how good Louisville was because they're missing so many guys so many different times in the season. Yes, it would be absolutely debilitating to the NCAA. They just want to get through it, crown a champion, collect the money, and go on to next year.
And it would be vintage NCAA if every other league was able to crown a champion without any difficulty at all, right? I mean, there were challenges, but there's no uncertainty about who the best team was. and then the NCAA just can't get through the March Madness bracket. And not only, it's one thing if it's, your 16 seeds that suddenly have an issue, because I know we can occasionally get a situation like what happened to UVA, 3 years ago, I guess now. But in general, if it happened to 1s and 2 seeds, it's going to be a massive story. Even in the conference tournaments, as you just mentioned, Duke, UVA, and Kansas, it's not like those aren't major programs, and it definitely threw those conference tournaments into a bit of an uproar as well.
Yep, and it just happened last week, too, so it's crazy.
We're talking to Doug Gottlieb, rolling through. It's the Monday after March Madness. The official unveiling of the NCAA tournaments. How much did you enjoy just seeing the tournament brackets come out? They're always fun to see, but happening after whatever it's been, 700 days since we last saw it, and after March Madness, the rug was pulled out right from under our feet last year. Did it feel, and you've been a part of this bracket unveiling before, I know there's always butterflies in the stomach, everything else. You've played in the NCAA tournament. How much more fun was it to just know at least we've got the bracket?
Do you want me to be honest with you?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to lie? I mean, I still have like a
I want you to be honest.
I can't watch the show. I used to be on the show. It's hard. You can't watch the show.
Yeah. So you can't watch it now.
No.
Yeah, I get it.
Don't really. I mean, it ended up working out fine for me because I called the Big Ten championship game on radio, and so I went over and I had a drink and dinner with some friends. But yeah, I mean it's not that hard, but I when the bracket came out, everybody was sending me texts and whatever, and wanted me to come on and do things, and then I wanted to look through it, and I texted a couple buddies and a couple of coaching friends in terms of their matchups to help them out, what I saw of the teams they're playing. But it's great. It is a sense of normalcy, and here's my thing. Let me throw this out to you, okay? I love the idea of one-stop shopping. Like, it's a real tournament if it's in one place. And I kind of dig the idea. Like, I know they won't do it, but you know what they should do? They should have it in Indy this year and Vegas next year. And the exact
I love
same
that.
all in one place.
I think it would be so cool. I agree. I think that would be amazing.
It's not just,
yeah.
not just because it's Vegas. Okay, Vegas is freaking cool. Okay, but here's the element to it. So they have the Dome now, which is a better version of the Dome that they have in Indy. It's brand new. Right? They have T-Mobile, which is a better version of Bankers Life because it's also brand new. They have like 5 other arenas right there in Las Vegas proper that are pro-caliber arenas that can host stuff. Like right now, so what they have in Indy, they have the Dome that has 2 courts in it. They have Bankers Life. They have Hinkle, which is like 15 minutes north at Butler. And then they have IU and Purdue, which are like an hour away. I'm telling you, like with Las Vegas, the Orleans has one. UNLV has Thomas and Mack, and then they have that smaller arena that has like 5,000 seats in it, whatever. Like, dude, they got like at least 5 to 7 arenas plus the Dome plus T-Mobile. I mean, they got MGM. It's a wrap. That's where. Plus the weather's better. Plenty of hotels. I think like imagine if you qualify for the tournament, like we're going to Vegas, baby, right? If I'm the mayor of Las Vegas, if I'm the governor of Nevada, I'm saying I'm going to Mark Emmert because the NCAA does a lot of things. They will do anything. They will do a lot of things for money. Who wouldn't?
Yes.
And say how much is it going to cost? Give me your whole event, and I think it's actually perfect.
I love the idea. I mean, I think it's going to be exciting just to be all in Indianapolis, as long as, again, we can avoid all these different COVID positive issues. And if we are going to have some teams test positive, which would stink, at least having it happen for teams that we don't anticipate being able to make a run and potentially win a championship. Because, again, I'm with you. The NCAA would get absolutely hammered over it. This is going to be fun. I can't wait. Appreciate you coming on. I know how busy you are with the brackets coming out, and look forward to talking again sometime soon.
Can I give you a lock?
Yeah, give me a lock, 100%. Yeah. By the way, you can go bet at FanDuel.com/Clay, free $50. So who is the lock? Who is the Doug Gottlieb lock in the first round?
Wichita State.
Wichita State. That's the
play-in game. They played Drake. Drake lost their point guard and their best player. Like it's a wrap, dude. Just take Wichita State. You know.
Absolute lock, Doug Gottlieb.
And and do it. You just say hey, and just say thank you, and I'll say you're welcome. There you go. You're welcome.
There you go. At Gottlieb Show, you can thank him. Gifts to the people for the NCAA tournament. Wichita State over Drake in the play-in game. That's a Thursday night game. 50 free dollars. You don't even have to risk anything. FanDuel.com/Clay. Doug Gottlieb, I appreciate it, my man. Have a good show later today, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon.
You the man. See ya.